let's go ahead and get started. I think most of the people who arrived are here, or if anybody arrives a little late, they can join us then.
Let's do it.
All right, awesome. So we have Agent Legend here. They're going to be showing their lead intelligence, and we're going to be going into our dynamic smart list. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off. So how to use data to optimize your follow-up boss smart list. Build dynamic smart lists to maximize the result of your sales activity. So first, thank you from InterFace and Agent Legend. Really appreciate everyone who took the time to join us today. We will be sending out a recording after, probably early next week. So what you'll learn on this call, so how regular follow-up boss smart lists work and have limitations that cause leads to slip through the cracks, how using only first-party data to segment your database is only part of the puzzle, and then how dynamic smart lists fueled by lead intelligence provide a more optimal follow-up cadence. Before we start, when we usually do these webinars, the information will help whether you become a InterFace or Agent Legend customer or not. The reason for this is because there's usually a do-it-yourself option to accomplish what our platform does, while our platform allows you to do it faster and better. But for this case, lead intelligence and dynamic smart list, there really isn't a do-it-yourself option. We're the only game in town, so we're going to go through what we built. We think it's a lot of value to the Follow Up Boss community, and so we're excited to tell everyone about it. So how this is going to work, we're going to run 60 minutes. We'll stick around after the presentation for as long as necessary to answer questions. So go ahead and type in your questions as you think of them. If we think it makes sense to answer it on the spot, we'll go ahead and answer it. Otherwise, we'll save it towards the end and answer it in the Q&A session. So get your notepad and start writing things down, action items. This is being recorded, and I'll tell you how to access the recording at the end. Okay, so who am I? Why am I here? Why should you listen to me? So I started my career as a real estate agent back in 2007. Best time ever to get into real estate. My career didn't last much longer beyond the collapse in 2008. So I started actually playing online poker professionally while living on the beach in Mexico. So you can see my office over here. Transitioned to a career in data science and analytics after my poker career. In 2017, I was hired as a database manager and quickly promoted to chief data officer for Reef Point Realty, which was the top selling team in San Diego at the time. And then I started InterFace as an automation and integration solution for Follow Up Boss. So what does InterFace do? We have a few different pieces to our platform. We're only going to be focusing on one of those today, but we also have a drag and drop web form builder. So you can build out web forms and embed them directly into Follow Up Boss. It really simplifies agent training if all agents have to remember to do is fill out a form rather than do 5 different things in Follow Up Boss. Eliminates duplicate data entry. We're also launching a business intelligence and analytics platform in Q4. So we're going to have conversion ratios and leaderboards and challenges and all that fun analytics stuff. So that's coming very soon. But today, what we're going to be focusing on is our automation platform, and specifically our dynamic smart lists, which the automation platform enables. So if you're ready to learn about Agent Legends, Follow Up Boss lead intelligence, go ahead and type yes into the chat.
Let's do it.
Steve, here we go.
Let's do it. All right, Daniel, it's been a long time coming. Thanks for finally having us on. The delay was just getting this thing routed into FUB. And so we're excited to showcase, again, the combination of what you're able to do with basically the results-based type of activity that we're able to create these smarter lists moving forward, leveraging the great data that the teams are tracking as we're moving forward. And really quickly, just a background on who we are. So we're a direct integration partner with Follow Up Boss. We have been for a number of years and have been in business for almost 10 years now. And so previously, we're a communications platform where we enable Follow Up Boss users to send text, ringless voicemails, handwritten letters, and email campaigns out to their database in the form of whether it's leads or perhaps recruiting, you name it. And the innovation that we've generated and created is an AI tool that now harvests that data, the great information that teams are collecting within their Follow Up Boss accounts. And we are transforming it and turning it into a gold mine of helping you figure out which leads to talk to based on their likelihood to actually convert. And so if you just go to the next slide, the reason why I just want to highlight this, Daniel, it's a testament to the code that you guys have cracked, where I think Christopher does a really good job. If for those of you who are on this session, if you haven't watched this, perhaps we can link to it in the chat or we'll follow up with it. But Christopher breaks down just how they're building these smart lists, and he provides the playbook for everybody there. And so go and copy and paste what they're doing. And then I advise you to also use lead intelligence to take the great information that they're using to build their dynamic smart list, the attempts versus results methodology, as well as what did he call it? The redial. What was the type of setup that he mentioned that they're doing, the redial campaigns or something along those lines?
Yeah, so they built out a call tools integration. And so what they did is they utilized what they learned from using that dialer to build in a similar type of calling cadence in Follow-Up Boss.
Yeah.
And so it schedules the next follow-up based on whether the call actually went through or not. So if you're making a dial and it's a 30-second call because you got voicemail, then it's set to follow up much sooner than if you actually speak to the person. And so that's what we'll be going into a little more in depth in this call, but he really goes into it at a very granular level. So it is a great webinar if you really want to get the ins and outs of dynamic smart lists.
Love it. But yeah, go to the next slide here to sum up what lead intelligence does in concert with InterFace's dynamic smart lists, where we're using your data, the first party information. So the calls, the website activity, all of that good information. And we're helping you segment the database even further by giving your agents even more information than they could ever have before with the power of lead intelligence behind them. So think focusing those efforts on, obviously speed to lead is critically important, but we hear all the time that people are out there, they just need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. It's not really a lead problem or a lead problem that's out in the marketplace. It's really a conversion problem. And that's what we're here to solve, is helping your team remain laser focused on the leads that are showing the activity, whether it is on your website, whether it is via phone calls, et cetera, but also going out there, leveraging big data, which is what we have done to find that offline activity that these leads are exhibiting, and helping those sales leaders identify the prospects for their teams to go out to. So whether it's your ISA department, whether it's just your buyer's agents, it's helping these dynamic smart lists. And we're going to show you what it looks like and how simple it really is, of helping them rank those leads and then calling them accordingly. And instead of just picking up the phone with no information at your disposal, we can now provide you a little bit more information regarding who that lead is, even before you've ever made contact, via the personas that we're able to filter into the system moving forward. So if you go to the next slide, we then also help you. So we've now identified who to talk to, and then we can help you talk to them in a way that helps that prospect understand. It helps it build that connection with the prospect beforehand, where we're now able to not even show you that this person is likely to buy or sell, given the lead prediction that we are directly feeding into Follow-Up Boss, but we're helping you understand the way in which that prospect wants to be talked to. We have that information, and now it's readily available for you in your account. And so here's just a good illustration of an engagement strategy of the top leads. We're going to put them into a text campaign, invite Wealthy Dad Will, for example, which is one of the lead personas that we can provide, where he's going to get an invite to an event. And then you also have Comfortable Grandpa Cal, who maybe is more of a handwritten letter perspective there. And so it's a way for us to get smarter in the way that we are, again, communicating with that lead, engaging with them in the way that they want to be talked to, which ultimately is going to save the agent time. And it's going to increase conversion rates, which we're already seeing with the power of that data behind us. So if we go to the next slide.
And what's exciting about this is not only how you could talk to some of these personas, but some agents are probably better at talking to some of these specific personas. And so now you can match the right lead with the right agent. Because if you have somebody who's good at speaking with Wealthy Dad Will, you can assign that person to all your Wealthy Dad Will leads.
Right. Yeah. When you get into what lead intelligence allows us to do, we predict conversion. I think that's the most popular, but we do have the ability to also predict which agent on your team should you assign. So
Is this the right slide?
this is the right slide. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so we'll just highlight again like why this even matters, and again getting into like how we do it. And so as we identify that, it is, if you go to the next slide, I believe we get into more of the data behind it. So this is what is behind the scenes. So those that are AI focused, data focused, those ops folks that are on here, what we do is we are taking, for those of you who have done lead scoring in the past, I did as well, running the real estate team that we do here in the Twin Cities, and lead scoring just didn't work. And the reason for that was it's not real time. It's using a limited data set. So typically people hear of the 5Ds, the divorce, diapers, diplomas, divorce, etc. And those are some of the indicators that tell me if that person is a hot lead or a better prospect for me to nurture, as well as the first party data, which I mentioned earlier with regards to how Christopher and the team at Whistle Realty, they are looking at, okay, what was our activity? What are they doing on our website? How many properties are they looking at? And those are the two, they were disconnected before. What we have done is now combine those two with the data that we have been able to accumulate with being able to match to 270 million consumers. So we have a one-to-one match. So as a new lead comes into your system, if we know the name, the phone number, the email, in some cases, if we have the property address, that then allows us to match with that household. And then we're overlaying these 1,500 attributes. So not just the 5Ds, there's 1,500 additional attributes that we are analyzing to determine if this person is showing the behaviors that would lead your sales team to say that they're ready to buy or sell in this instance. How do we know that information? We start with a model built specifically for your team. And that's a big differentiator as well of what we're doing is we aren't just generically assigning values to every household across the United States. We first start with a database analysis. And so at the end of this, there's going to be some more information around how you can get started on that. But we do that for free, where we are just auditing what information that you have. And that is where our data scientists are looking at, hey, can we build a really strong model to put into place? If we can't, then we still say, here's the information you need to continue to feed into Follow Up Boss. It's all the great contact information, website, that first party information, making sure the addresses are in there, the date closed, all that good stuff that allows us to digest that information and then feed it right back into your Follow Up Boss account. And then additionally, what we're doing is we are taking all of the rich data that Agent Legends communication platform is securing on a daily basis, and we are enriching that entire pool. So if you just imagine a just big, massive data set that then allows us to predict those behaviors, which we're going to show you here in a couple seconds. So go to the next slide, I believe is the next one. And this is what it looks like when we turn it on in your Follow Up Boss account. So we feed directly. So once we have this model built for you, we are now sending those scores as well as that persona information directly into your Follow Up Boss accounts. That feeds into a smart list. And so depending upon how you've segmented your database already, we're now using your own data, enriching it, and now allowing your team to execute upon it in your lead nurturing activities that you have going on. If you go to the next slide, I believe we're going to get into, this is really what we're incredibly excited about, is to give the agent more information around who the heck that they are talking to. So not only have we identified with the scoring to enable you to now say, who should I be talking to? We're now telling you this is what they look like. And so every lead that we are matching to will be assigned a persona as well. And you can see the breakdown that we give you, not only age, gender, household income, but what's really neat is the shopping style that we can also flow in there. It's one of the 1,500 attributes that's included. And you can see that there's a difference in how you should engage with the philanthropist dad, Phil, who enjoys the luxury offline shopping experience, versus the comfortable tradesman, Cam, for example, where they prefer that online engagement. So not only are we saying we're eliminating the methodology of just dial for dollars, and we're helping you reach these prospects where they're at in their shopping journey, that whole path to purchase. We're able to say, where are they in the grand scheme of things? Are they top of the funnel still? And what value do you need to continue to provide those people that are scoring lower, but those that are scoring higher? It is now, how do I engage with them? Am I gonna bother them with a phone call, or should I execute a text, or do I send them a handwritten note or a direct mail piece? The information that's now readily available helps you decide what method of communication to really be focused in on. So now we're going to go to the next slide here, Daniel. And
there we go. This one?
And so this is a sneak peek for everybody. So not only is lead intelligence turned on within Follow Up Boss, so you can get started today with the free database analysis that we do, but we also now just enable you. So two ways of thinking about our service. If you are a call action texting Betty, lead engage customer, for example, use lead intelligence to inform the campaigns that you already have set up, right? Those are great platforms. We also do the same thing, and our native app is going to be rolling out here, I believe, in time for unlock, so it'll actually be available then. But this is now where, when you have your dynamic smart list, you can now assign them to an outreach strategy. So FUB has their, right, they already have the action plans that you can execute. We can do long form nurture via text, the video text, ringless voicemail, handwritten letter. Now we're able to assign those directly without you ever having to leave Follow Up Boss, which keeps everything centralized and it doesn't confuse your agents whatsoever. If you go to the next slide. And then just one little anecdote. So because of when we build this model for the teams that we're working with, not only are we going to score the leads that are in your database, but because of the 270 million households that we have access to, we can also help you optimize your ad spends. Why those customers that are using a YLocal, for example, how do we help you drive down the cost per click, the cost per lead on those platforms by, instead of using a generic model, you can now use your lead intelligence model to say, here are my customers, my personas, and also here are the zip codes where there's a high propensity of those consumers. Now it's just fish in a barrel, and you target those communities, you target those areas. And so your lead quality goes up, and now you take over with, and we're going to show you now the dynamic smart list of just how you can see this in action. But we do have customers that use the lead intelligence for obviously the new inbound leads, helping with the conversion. And now you can also think of, how do I go and attract more people that look exactly like my past customers? And that's the application for what we deem as more of the acquisition side of where lead intelligence can be fueled, because some folks still are looking for leads along those lines. So I believe that should take us, Daniel, to the demo, I think, at this point, without going into too much. But just to summarize lead intelligence for everybody that's on the call, your data, your asset. The key here is that we are building something that is proprietary for your team, your market. A market in Southern California and a consumer there looks a lot different than somebody else here in the Twin Cities where we're at here in Minneapolis. And so leveraging all this great information that is sitting dormant, plug it into lead intelligence, send that into Follow Up Boss, use dynamic smart lists to now just get so much smarter with how we're engaging with people. Better consumer experience, engaging with that lead where they're at. Everything is rooted in a better consumer experience with every platform that's out there. Lead intelligence is helping with that. And then ultimately higher conversion rates. Our results to date by implementing lead intelligence, when you're focused on the right leads and getting those conversations started, are 4 times higher to convert when you're focused on the leads that we tell you to focus on. Automating what you can automate. The live sales calories go towards those that lead intelligence is telling you to engage with. So Daniel, with that being said, I think we pivot over to the demo of showing everybody the power of InterFace, and then again, what we are flowing directly into their accounts.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll do a quick overview on how Follow Up Boss works. So if you're ready to learn how to optimize your Follow Up Boss smart list, go ahead and type yes into the chat. All right. Okay, so dynamic smart list. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. From the Art of War. So Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss smart lists are fantastic. They're way better than using tasks to track your follow-up. but there are some limitations. If you're using a weekly list for your hot leads, for example, the purpose of that list is to actually speak to the person weekly or communicate back and forth text. In Follow Boss, however, the way their smart lists work is whether it's a outbound call the last 10 minutes because you spoke to the person, or an outbound call the last 30 seconds because you got voicemail, or an outbound email or an outbound text, it's going to drop that lead off the smart list for 7 days. And that's not ideal. So what we can do with our automation platform is dynamically schedule the next follow-up based on the activity that was just logged. A quick example of what that might look like is on a hot list, a call that lasts longer than 2 minutes, we set the next follow-up for a week. But a call that lasts less than 2 minutes, we set the next follow-up for 3 days. Because if you have 3 or 4 calls in a row the last 30 seconds and you set the next follow-up for a week, now it's been a month and you haven't spoken to somebody who you should be spoken to weekly. And that's a lead slipping through the cracks. Outbound text, outbound emails, maybe we set the next follow-up for 5 days, but an inbound text or inbound email, you need to reply to that text or email. So we want to put it back on the smart list immediately. So this is an overview of how the dynamic smart lists work. So who's excited to see a demo? Go ahead and type yes in the chat if you want to take a look at what we're actually doing.
Project.
All right, let's see here. So here's our platform. We have 3 different pieces, like I said, but we're just going to focus on automation. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with Zapier. So we've essentially built a Zapier platform for Follow Up Boss. There's a lot of capabilities that we have in here that aren't available anywhere else. I'm not going to go too in depth into this, but what I'm primarily going to show is the trigger options. So you come in here, now it's just like Zapier. And here are the different options you have as triggers. So if a person is created, if a person is updated, this one is really unique. This will trigger automation if a specific field on the lead record is updated. So if an agent pulls a lead from a pond, you can trigger automation from that. If the source is updated, a lot of different options. Person deleted, tags created, person stage updated. If a note is created or updated, if an email is created, if an appointment is created or updated, if a text message is created, if an email is created, or if a deal is created or updated. And this is the same thing. If a specific field on the deal is updated, we could trigger automation. And so the way our dynamic smart list works is if one of these activity types happen, we trigger the automation. Then we filter by if it was an inbound call or outbound call, or if it was a 2-minute or longer call or less than 2 minute. Then we have a utility where we can calculate the next follow-up date. And then the actions we have available are either applying a tag, triggering an action plan, or updating the lead record. And so for dynamic smart lists, we put a hot active next follow-up date field in there, and then we add the calculated date to it. So I'm not going to go too much into this. Some teams will set up their own workflows. Other teams will have us do it for them. But this is the platform we use to set up the dynamic smart list. Now we'll go into Follow Boss to see how they work. So in Follow Boss, here is an example of a regular Follow Boss smart list. It's based off of the stage. So the stage is hot, and then it's based off last communication. So its last communication is more than 7 days ago. Now, the way our dynamic smart lists work is it's based off the same stage, but now it's if this hot active follow-up date becomes today's date. So it's more than 12 hours ago. And then it's going to drop leads off this list for different durations. So instead of always being 7 days, sometimes it'll be 7, sometimes it'll be 2, and you get to choose what the duration is. But now we'll go in and show some of the automation, how that works with how it can work with Agent Legends lead intelligence. We have a lead here. It's in the nurture stage. It's assigned to me. So as I mentioned before, we have automation that can update when custom fields are updated. We have lead intelligence. So let's say the lead intelligence is at a 10 to start. So now if lead intelligence gets over, let's say 90, it doesn't make sense for that to be in the nurture stage anymore. You don't want to be nurturing somebody who's at a super hot lead. So what we can do is when the lead intelligence goes above, let's say 90. So let's say we're at 92. Now we update this. And so this is going to update the stage. I'll give it a few seconds.
And while that's going on, Daniel, we do this every day. At least the scores that we feed in are dynamic as well. So they're refreshing in real time, leveraging that tool. And so as soon as there's an indication, as soon as they start exhibiting those behaviors via the
And there we go.
attributes.
And there we go. So now it's updated to the hot stage.
Beautiful.
No, so Steve, go ahead. What?
No, the only point I was trying to make is that instead of you having these static scores that are in there, again, that was my experience prior, these scores will be fed in all the time, readily available. And when they start exhibiting those behaviors, again, derived off of who your past customers are, that will then feed these leads into new lists. And then it's the logs of how you've communicated with them that just dictates the next step based on however you have your setup within FUB.
Okay, and let's see. All right, so the next thing we're going to show is how a persona being updated can reassign the lead. Let's say we're going to relaxed retiree Rick. So now, right now it's assigned to me. So if Agent Legends lead intelligence updated this lead to relax retiree Rick. Now this is going to automatically update the agent to, there it is, Alexandra. So now if Alex is my agent who is an all-star with talking to relax retiree Rick, now I can make sure she gets all those leads.
Yep. Couple questions here, Daniel. One was from Mark. He asked, do you have to have a Zapier subscription?
No. So like I said, it's a Zapier-like platform, but we built out the platform. So we're essentially a competitor with Zapier. I wouldn't say a competitor because we do stuff that really they aren't capable of doing, but it works very similar. We're just tackling different types of stuff.
Yeah. Can you maybe, because from what I've learned, and I'm not as in the weeds on it, but you've just supercharged it. Maybe highlight a few of the nuances as to why InterFace versus Zapier.
Yeah. Okay. So we're focused on higher volume stuff. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to build stuff that Zapier already does because that's already out there. But there's a lot of stuff that Zapier doesn't do around automation on higher volume stuff. And the reason they don't do it is because it would just be too expensive to use. And so FallPost is the one that builds the Zapier integration. They're not going to build stuff that's going to be too expensive for their users to use. So anything that's based off of like high volume calls, texts, emails, stuff like that just isn't available in Zapier. And so since we're charging about 10% of what Zapier charges, we can do those types of activity automations and it's cost effective. And updates to lead records. How many updates are happening to the lead record each day? Thousands. We can trigger off updates and we're going to be adding more as well. So task triggers are coming soon. We're even going to do a trigger based off of if anybody shows up on a specific smart list, you'll be able to trigger automation. So you'd use that for accountability lists to automatically reassign leads to a pond if they're not being worked properly. Okay, so now let's go into some just text automation. So there's a lot of stuff where you would want to automate it, sending out a text. So Agent Legend is also a text platform. Let's see here. So if you get an inbound call, give me 1 second. I gotta take a look at what my phone number is. All right. So we're going to test out an inbound missed call. We'll apply a tag. And then when that tag is applied, it'll send out a automated text. Right. Now let's go back to that lead record. And so now we got this tag. This tag was just applied. And then in a few seconds, we should get a text going out.
One would hope.
Yeah, we'll give it a few seconds.
Yeah, but our direct integration with that, what you saw here is the trigger tag was the automation from the dynamic smart list, right? Or the interface opportunity there. And then that sends it into the agent legend campaign. So eventually our native app will be here on the right-hand side of the screen. You can assign people to it or just tag them. And then the inbox app will also be readily available. So you'll see all that activity registering as we continue to move along.
We'll go on to the next one. The demo gods are probably just making this.
I knew it. We even talked about it beforehand, but maybe a different contact too.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so typically in Agent Legend, you can send out text when tags are applied. Right now, we're showing the automation for applying the tags. Ideally, by the end of the demo, that other part will work as well. Okay. And so now, again, we have update to deals can trigger automation. And so now in your transaction management, you can set specific fields to trigger automation. And then with Agent Legend, you could use that automation to send out a text. So we have a field on here for all contingencies removed. So now you're going through your transaction management process. All contingencies have been removed. So you can come in here and say yes. And so now that will trigger automation. So we have it set up to trigger automation to apply another tag. And then that tag is set up to send out the automated text, letting the client know that all their contingencies have been removed.
Beautiful. Yeah, we got another question here regarding, somebody said, I had lead scoring in the past with a different CRM. Is this similar? And I think what I mentioned earlier is we used lead scoring ourselves and it wasn't all that effective. And so the approach that we've taken is we first build a model for your business. And that's one of the key differentiators is leveraging the data for each one of our clients that's already available. And then we come back to the table and we say, do we feel like we can make a prediction? Is there enough data in our model to make that prediction where we are looking back at the most recent transactions that you have completed? And then we're saying what behaviors were going on behind the scenes. And that speaks to marrying up that first party data, all of the information that's coming through your website, not just, and then the third party data, which is the 5Ds that are most commonly used in the lead scoring methodologies that are out there. And again, we've just supercharged it with the 1,500 attributes, those data points on top of it. So think of custom to your database, your FUB account. Now we're creating an asset that every data point that you continue to add, so all the stuff that Daniel's showing you with logging activities and moving contacts around, that's continually feeding your lead intelligence model. So we're already seeing our clients that erected their lead intelligence solution a couple months ago. They started seeing a little bit of traction with the response rates and getting more conversations started by, again, focusing on the right leads. But now they're even seeing the accuracy of the scores, the accuracy of the persona information continually improving. Those that are adopting it early are a few steps ahead of those that will continue to come aboard. Hopefully that answers the question regarding, again, the nuance to our lead scoring methodology, the intelligence that we can bring to the table with that persona information as well. So
awesome. Thanks, Steve. Thanks from InterFace and Agent Legend. And thanks to everyone who hopped on the call.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thanks.
Bye-bye.